Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ. I am before you to bring a new message to you on this week's Weekly Manna. In this week's Manna, I would like to explain that several times we do not recognize the greatness of the God we serve. Now, because we do not recognize how great and mighty our God is, we do not worship Him or give Him the praise that He deserves. Or we do not give Him the respect that He deserves. Look, in Matthew chapter 26, verses 6 onwards, we read about Jesus being in a house in Bethany. It's a house of Simon the Leper. In this particular house, we read that a lady comes somewhere out of the blue and she has got something specific with her. It's none than an alabaster jar full of very expensive, precious perfume. What does she do? She comes into the house when Jesus was reclining at the table with the rest of His disciples. She comes, she breaks it, and she pours the expensive perfume on Jesus' head. But what we read there is that the disciples, who should have been happy, what we see there was quite frustrated. They were not happy about the actions of this woman. For the disciples, they say that this was a mere waste. For the woman, that was her earning of a lifetime. This was the moment she had been waiting. She could not get this opportunity once again. She used the opportunity to her best. This was a lifetime moment, a dream come moment in her life. But on the other side, for the disciples who walked with Jesus, who ate and drank with Jesus, who was invited to the house of Simon the Leper, for them, they were not happy at all. See, let me tell you, you can see these two contrasting views about one particular action of this woman. The woman's action, what she had in mind, and on the other side, the disciples. But what is important is the recipient of this worship, of this offering, is Jesus. What did Jesus say? What Jesus said, "Why do you bother the woman? For she has done a good deed to me." Wow, what a lovely statement from Jesus, isn't it? He in fact rebukes His disciples and say, "Why do you bother her? She has done such a good deed." And Jesus appreciates her. Let me tell you one thing. Do we really recognize who Jesus is? And do we give Him the glory, the honor, and the praise that He deserves? You got to really ask. Let me tell you this story. Many years ago, when Queen Mary was in charge of this land, there was once she disguised herself and went out of the palace. She walked, and she kept walking. As she walked, there were signs of rain coming. And what happened? The clouds were getting darkened, and she knew that it was going to rain all of a sudden. So what she did is that there was a house nearby, a little hut. She went to the hut and she called out and said, "Do you have an umbrella I could borrow?" And the person who was in the house came out and said, "Let me have a look." And they had a couple of umbrellas in the house. And because they did not know this person, they selected one which they thought that was the one they did not want to keep for themselves. They thought that let's get rid of it in case this woman doesn't return it. So they gave the one which was not good, which wasn't fully working properly, but they gave it to this person who was there by door. And what happened is Queen Mary used it and she returned back to the palace. Just few days later, when the people of this particular house, they were sat at home, suddenly they see chariots in front of their house. And they wondered what was happening. So they came out of the house. And there was the royal people, the officials from the palace. And they had a note of appreciation and thanks. So the people of this house were quite perplexed and quite surprised by what had happened. And there was some gifts for them. And they couldn't believe what they were receiving. So they kept asking, why are these gifts coming to us? Why is the royal family sending us these gifts? They might have got the wrong house. And that time they explained. A couple of days ago, Queen Mary was on her rounds. And she came by, and that's the time it was about to rain. There was thunderstorms. And that's when she came to your house and you gave her this umbrella. They returned the umbrella back and they gave the family members all their gifts. The family members, while they were happy, at the same time, they were quite upset. You know why? They now knew that they had a golden opportunity to honor the queen. But what? They did not use the opportunity well, because they did not recognize the greatness of the person who had visited them. Many times, this is the same thing that happens in our life. We did not recognize the greatness of Jesus who lives in us. Let me tell you, here, this woman did this as a memorial unto Jesus. But Jesus in verse number 13 says, truly I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be spoken in memory of her. How wonderful, isn't it? Many, many years after, today, we speak about the same topic. She wanted to give it in memory of Jesus, as a memorial to him. But what does Jesus do? Jesus returns it back in a different way and blesses her and say that this will be spoken of you in memory of what you did. He's a debtor to none. You honor God, God will honor you too as well. So these days, let's recognize the greatness of Jesus whom we serve and give him the praise, honor, and the respect that's due to his name. May God bless us. Thank you.